Just as a brief introduction to this video will be covering again an expansion of the ideas that I covered within my discussion with Zeal on ideology, and I just want to flesh out more of those ideas, those concepts within this video. Well, my last discussion was quite interesting. I put it up to one alt platform, which was Odyssey. I probably won't be uploading to BitChute anytime soon. It's not that I've become disillusioned with all of this. Not at all. I see it clearly now. And again, as Zealberg stated, it doesn't really matter what is true nowadays. We're well beyond that now within the postmodern West. It really is what is perceived as true. That becomes reality, of course, because reality, as I stated within that video fractal forms of the void, the imagination, the image, the imago from Latin, that is the product of the mind. Your entire reality is produced within the mind, or potentially is projected from it. But nonetheless, it is doctored, modulated by the mind. Therefore, everything you watch becomes almost an extension of you. Your mind warps around it. It's a bit like an algorithm. What you watch informationally becomes your new paradigm. It becomes your new mental algorithm, so to say. So you view the entire world through that lens, right? The problem is people don't understand that, and nor do they have, a lot of people don't have a filter, an informational filter, to thus resist or mitigate that warping of the mind to the new information, right? That idea of, I do whatever resonates with me. The problem is, when something resonates with you, you're not looking at it critically, you're not rationally inspecting it or analysing it. You're basing it upon an emotion, a fleeting, whimsical impulse, right? Born of the mind. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Some people, are quite romantic souls. They love being like that, so to say, and it makes their life more interesting, of course. But do be aware that what we see within the alt media, as I stated within that video, The Snare of Ideology, discussing with Zeal, you become the vanguard of the artificial collapse of the West at that point. If you think everything is fake, if you think all knowledge accumulated to this point is thus moot, because it is all false, fake, and it's automatically so, then the problem is that is a reflection. That's a reflection of the postmodern critical theory, and also intersectionalist theory, really, which all really is all under the umbrella of critical theory. So you have the woke on one side, and you have the awake on the other. And the two sides battle each other, believing that the other side is morally reprehensible, right? Because, of course, to set up ideological camps, you can't have these camps having intellectual debates, right? You can't have them coming to intellectual or intellectual compromise vis-a-vis discourse, right? Reasoned discourse. No, you can't have that. Because then people begin to see the humanity in the other person. What you have to do is moralize the issue, right? Moralize the individual and their actions. So you either conform to the new ideology, or you are morally evil, you are a devil, right? You're in league with Satan. Of course, within the modern woke parlance, that would be you are, a transphobe, you're all of these various phobias, you're all of these various anti-labels as well. But the thing is, the awake side, the conspiracy theorists, the truthers, also have their own terminology that they use to dehumanize people, to moralize these topics, which is, you're a shill. That's the primary one, of course. Of course, you have other ones. There's a plethora of them: controlled opposition, controlled agent, COINTELPRO, all of these various ones. You're pro this, that. You have other ones as well that, again, delve into the sort of racial aspect of this awake or truther or conspiracy theorist movement, right? Which itself has its own sort of intersectionalist wing. Again, you have, the white nationalists and all of these various groups. So each side is a reflection of the other, essentially, right? The reason they're such a reflection of the other is because they have the same author, right? It's the same people controlling both sides. They know that the dissidents will cross the Rubicon at one point in time, that niggling feeling you have in your mind where you want to question and critique things. So for the right wing, they have the conspiracy theorist camp. Once you cross that Rubicon, you get trapped there, that ideological camp. And then, of course, you have the left wing reflection of that. So in the woke mentality, the woke camp. But inevitably, this tug of war, this societal tug of war, destroys the entire civilization, destroys everything, destroys families. And the problem is, these are all, in essence, artificial extensions of families, family units. But they're a perversion of it. So, to impose a radical social regime, or a radical reimagining of the society, you have to destroy the family unit. You have to get control of the children, right? Now, with the internet, this becomes almost rapid in how effective it is. Because of the informational spread, the scope of information on the internet, it almost acts as a web, right? A web with a sweet allure that we are all flies and we get drawn into it, right? We get stuck there, cocooned by the spider in the center of the web. It draws us in. It makes us believe, right, that we are in control, that we are having an awakening, that we are at the forefront of a great understanding of the world. Oh my God, the shape of the earth is incorrect. Or on the left-wing side, oh my God, gender isn't a binary. These are nothing but ideological traps that people get bogged down in. They get bogged down in these trenches for so long. They begin facing the other side, the other ideological side in their trench. And in the middle is no man's land, right? And nobody can dwell in no man's land. Nobody can be neutral. All has to be on a polarity, right? All has to be in one of the two trenches. You can't have any grey. It is all black and white, right? Right and left, good and bad, gay or straight, cis or trans. And nobody ever stops to contemplate the potential that we are being played on a grand level. That we are literally sleepwalking into our own destruction. And I don't just mean physical, final destruction. I don't mean that. I mean total discomfort. Our families are falling apart. There's a divide between the young and the old. There's a divide between men and women. There's an inversion of men and women as well. That women have taken on more male characteristics and men have become more, by and large, especially in the younger generations, very emasculated. This is a society on the edge of the precipice. progressing. Sure, it is progress. It's progressing off the edge of the precipice. I mean, what can you do? It's a buffalo run at this point. I mean, are you going to get involved in the stampede? Are you going to get involved in the left or the right? Are you going to get involved in the mainstream or the alt media? Are you what cult of personality are you going to listen to this time? You know? That's why when I set up this channel, I used a pseudonym. I didn't use a pseudonym because, you know, I was scared. Personally, I don't really care. But I used the pseudonym because I did not want to become a cult of personality. I wanted it to just be a sort of incorporeal voice speaking on issues. Alright? But the problem is, people have almost a tendency, a primal urge to venerate someone as a cult of personality. I'm not saying that happened to me, but you can see how easily controlled opposition agents get set up, right? Literal controlled opposition agents, as you can see. I mean, does no one ask in the alt media, where do all of these various concepts come from? The flat earth, where does that come from? I recall when it sort of first appeared, I believe in 2013, 2014, just appeared out of nowhere, seemingly overnight. And I do recall it popping up in the YouTube algorithm. I hadn't searched it before, hadn't looked at it, hadn't even contemplated it, but it just appeared out of nowhere. The algorithm provided it to me. So then for 2 years you're sort of looking into it, and it's quite interesting intellectually to sort of cover that ground, to look at all of these various fields, most notably astronomy, to get a general understanding of, is it true or false? But to be honest, it didn't matter. That wasn't its aim. Its aim was not to provide an intellectual exercise to people. It was to provide people an ideological camp, another dialectic. Are you a globe earther or a globe head, or are you a flat earther? Right? And there was only ever two, though there are more ideas regarding the shape of the earth, right, out there. And again, I personally don't care for any of them. It was only ever two. Is it flat or is it round? Peculiar. Where have we seen that before? Left and right, black and white. Male and female. Ah, right, yes. SJW, anti-SJW. Woke, awake. Very interesting. It's funny, no one stopped to ponder that fact while they were attacking the other side. You're in a grand play called Fate, right? You are an actor on a stage. You wear a mask, a persona. The persona has been granted to you. You believe you wore the mask of your own accord. You did not. You were conditioned and fooled into it. You are part of a ritual. This ritual will inevitably end in the destruction of the Occidental experiment. And before this era draws to a bloody close, hopefully a few of you understand the folly of all of this, the snare of ideology, and where ideology has got us. Am I saying what I state is correct? No. I've come to the understanding I know very little. But what I do know is that we are being played societally, and it's all born of the control of the mind vis-a-vis the informational web, the internet, right? The net, which has captured pretty much everyone in the West and worldwide, which is being used to cage us. It's that which is being used to condition us, to cognitively reprogram us, subtly and without our own knowledge of it. This is irreversible. What has occurred? totally irreversible. For myself, I mean, you speak to people nowadays and you're wondering, are they going to be normal? Meaning, are they going to be non-ideological? Can I just talk freely around them? Can I talk on issues without us having an ideological slant on it? Because I don't have an ideological slant when I speak to people. I provide them my ideas. The ideas that have been born of my mind, my reasoning, my observations of the world. Of course, I would state that this is all cyclical. There is no way to get around this. It's all circular. So you can take the left or the right path, but you will inevitably end up in the same place because of the wheel, because it is circular, because of the waveform, which is at the basis of the entire existential cosmos. There's no way to get around this fact. The only thing you can do is to remain human. To hold on to your humanity. Don't let them steal it, because that's what they're attempting to do when they reel you into these ideologies. They want you to hate your neighbour. They want you to hate your family, your father, your mother, your brother, your sister. This is at the basis of all religions. So for example, of course it exists in every religion, but because every ideology is a religion, ideology is merely an atheistical euphemism for religion. So Luke 12:53, Jesus stated, "They will be divided, father against son and son against father, mother against daughter and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law and daughter-in-law against mother-in-law." This is the basis of ideology. This is what it brings forth, a destruction of the family unit and a perversion of it, where the individual learns to value the state, or the apex of the ideological hierarchy, as their father and their mother, their God in heaven, right? Or their Father in heaven. We've been so played. And humanity seems to enjoy it. That's the most maddening thing about this all. They enjoy ignorance. They enjoy the bliss of it. They enjoy the trance of attachment. And they enjoy the thrill of hatred. Only a minority will escape this labyrinth. In this system of rotational human farming called civilization, where the cities are literally the cattle pens, where the apex human predator enters and then is processed after ensuing generations, processed into a perfect prey species, selectively bred and absolutely chemically abused, of course. They produce again that prey species, the perfect prey species. But the thing is, the artificial collapse, the collapse, as Zeal stated in our previous discussion, is it a tangible thing? No, it is born intangibly. The collapse has already occurred. It has occurred within our minds. The conditioning, the social messaging, because reality is formed within the mind. Once you poison the well of the mind, you then poison the thoughts, you poison the organ that modulates and processes that said thought. And in many ways, of course, that then is outwardly projected into reality. So the collapse has already come. The collapse is in our minds. All of these various ideological camps that divide society along a myriad of fault lines. It only takes one spark to bring the entire house of cards tumbling down. In our mind, and of course, the authors of this, the puppet masters, they've provided us with the lighter, the fuel, and the mentality, the radical mentality to wish to play with that fire, to see how far we can push society, how much we can unravel things. Of course, critical theory is at the fore of that. You find critical theory within the woke and the awake. So, I mean, that's the irony of it. They call themselves woke and awake, yet they're totally asleep. And they like to play with fire, to try and burn down their own house. They're mad. All of them are mad. And somebody mentioned, how do you keep your sanity? Firstly, sanity is a collectivized standard. It is something it's an outward judgment made on you by the society at large. The society is insane. So to be sane within the society, you have to be insane. And by insane, I mean mad. Doing things that are really utterly abnormal and devoid of any reason, right? I mean insane in that definition. But the way they would view society is, how do you ideologically conform? Do you agree with the conglomeration of ideas that we have set forth? If not, then you're insane. Of course, as that's a very communistic or collectivized idea of sanity or insanity. But this society is insane. The way one would maintain their sanity is firstly understand the larger paradigm at play, understand the larger cycles. Then you can more easily glimpse infinity and understand your position within the larger macrocosm. So in essence, that will mitigate what you're seeing in the outward society, right? You become more detached. Again, you're no longer desirous or attached. You take you don't become a spectator, but you become detached, right? Because you understand the cycles. You understand that this is just another flash in the pan, so to say. However, look at everyone in society, right? Look at them, empathize with them, because they are victims, and understand that their behavior, their insanity, to do the opposite of them is to be sane. They are the marker of your sanity, so to say. They are the sort of gauge, the barometer of it. So if you're doing the opposite of them, if you're acting in contrast to them or contrary to them, you're acting in a sane and rational manner. So that means, thinking with logic, having critical thinking skills and such. So that's the way you maintain sanity within an insane society. And one could say, actually, a thinker could be most sane within an insane society, simply because, again, you have that external environmental barometer of how you should be acting, right? In terms of acting contrary to the outward society. I would say that's how you maintain your sanity during this period, absolutely.